The ancient inheritance of the immortal temple. The disciple has heard of it. What kind of exercise is that? Yi Ming asked curiously. Yi Shantian focused his expression, and said, the Temple of Immortality is no small matter, it is closely related to the strongest person in human history. The most powerful human being. Is that the savior of the human race? Is there the existence of the collapsed ancestral continent? Yi Ming asked in surprise. That's right, it's him. Yi Shantian looked up in admiration. He is an unprecedented great man throughout the ages, no one has ever surpassed him. He couldn't help but ask, Master, it is said that the strong man's magic power reaches the sky, so what level of existence is he? Is it the main god? Zen Master Shanyan smiled slightly, and took over the conversation. That great man has at least the strength of the main god, or even stronger. Stronger. Yi Ming was taken aback. Could it have reached the level of Day of Heaven? Zen Master Shanyan thought for a while, and said, the great man did not cultivate the divine way, but created an original cultivation system, and reached a very high level. It is a pity that he failed and died in order to save mankind. If he is still alive, and the human race should have advanced to a super civilization, standing in the forest of all races. Self-created cultivation system. Yi Ming's heart became hot, then his inheritance is in the Temple of Immortality. It's all just rumors. As for the truth, you won't know until you enter the Temple of Immortality. Yi Shantian said, but don't hold out too much hope. Throughout the ages, the temple has produced countless geniuses, but none of them is qualified. Get the inheritance. Yi Ming nodded. The disciple understands. While speaking, a brilliant ray of light descended from the sky, and a group of people appeared. Firstly, a person wearing a golden crown is 10 feet long, with golden lotuses on his feet, and a circle of bright light behind his head radiates 4 dimensions and 8 poles. Behind him, followed by a group of gods, all of them calm and relaxed, full of divine light. As soon as this group of people came out, half of the sky was illuminated, their power was boundless, and their limelight was unparalleled. Master Qi Tian is here. Someone sang, and everyone in the square looked sideways at him. What? The leader of Qishan has also arrived. What is he doing here? Many people were surprised. Qi Tian sect has been in the limelight in recent years, annexing countless forces, large and small, and less than half of the masters on the Tianyuan ranking have joined Qi Tian sect. It can be said that besides the 5 dynasties and the 4 great lands, the Qi Tian sect is the most powerful force. A group of members of the Qishan sect directly crossed the bridge and entered the Eternal God Mountain. Yi Shantian shook his head and said, Qi Tianzhao is too domineering. Not long after, another 5 rays of light descended, and the people who came were none other than the 5 great emperors. They each brought a large number of entourages and guards, and they climbed into the mountain in the same way. People from the 9 great holy lands and the great religions also showed up one after another. Until then, the people in the square walked onto the bridge in an orderly manner and entered the Eternal God Mountain. Entering the Eternal Divine Mountain, one can see stone pillars rising from the endless sea of clouds. These stone pillars are thick or thin, high or low, scattered and disorderly. And in the center of the stone pillar is an illusory mountain, on which palaces and buildings are built, dense with ancient trees. An eternal breath was released from the mountain peak. Even the Qishan leader and the 5 great emperors had never easily climbed there. The Qishan leader and others arrived first, and they chose the tallest stone pillar. The top of the stone pillar was about 100 feet in diameter, and Atabai and others sat on it. The other 5 great emperors also selected a stone pillar, which was only a little thinner than that taught by Qi Tianzhao. After that, there are the 9 holy places, the great religions, the aristocratic families and so on. Looking around, all the big forces chose tall stone pillars, while the small forces found some small pillars to hide. As for people like Yi Ming, they can only find a foothold on the periphery, and there is no requirement. Just as everyone stood firm, the sound of waves suddenly sounded in their ears, and the golden light surged under their feet. When the cloud and mist dissipated, it was already standing on a golden ocean. In the ocean, there is a crystal palace looming. Original Divine Sea. People exclaimed, Crystal Palace. Yi Ming glanced at it and saw that the ground was full of divine light. I don't know how many gods were present. This pantheon of gods is worthy of its name. He couldn't help asking, Master, it's not the eternal divine mountain. Why did the original divine sea appear? Yi Shantian said, the original divine sea can be moved, it has entered the eternal divine mountain. Yi Ming was stunned. No wonder people said that the venue is the original Shanhai, but people were invited to the eternal Shenshen. It turns out that is the case. It seems that the relationship between the four sacred lands is not shallow, and they can maintain the same actions. High in the sky, 4 great phantoms were cast, and the coercion produced by each one was enough to make the people present breathless, and their hearts were greatly shocked. Of the people present, only the 5 great emperors and the leader of the Qishan sect could maintain their composure, while the rest of the faces changed color. Yi Ming's feeling is very clear. In his eyes, the 4 phantoms are simply the sky, the earth, and the ruler of all things. In front of them, he didn't have the slightest thought of resistance, and he had the urge to worship. Fortunately, he was determined, otherwise he would have to be ugly. Master, these 4 are the lords of the divine land. He asked secretly. Yi Shantian frowned slightly. He seemed to be slightly dissatisfied with the 4 phantoms, and said lightly, exactly. The masters of the sacred land are no small matter, and they all have strengths above the 6th realm of longevity. Above the 6 realms of longevity. Yi Ming's heart trembled. No wonder there is such a powerful aura. The 2 masters and apprentices were talking, and a phantom smiled hehe and said, it's a great honor for us to be able to join you in the Wanshanhui. There was a burst of praise from the audience, and the scene of the gods' praise was so spectacular that Yi Ming's ears were buzzing. When the voice died down, the phantom continued, I am the Lord of the Origin Divine Sea, presiding over today's pantheon. Sea God. Countless people bowed to the ground, very pious. The Lord of the Divine Sea nodded slightly, and with a flick of his hand, 300 tokens fell onto different stone pillars and were captured by different forces. A token fell from Yi Shantian's hand. This token has an ancient aura and is engraved with strange patterns. The token of the road to success. Yi Shantian was surprised and recognized it immediately. Yi Ming's heart moved. He had won a token from Yuanyuan's Ba Yun back then, which was exactly the same as this one. Now the Lord of the Divine Sea personally presents the token, which shows how precious it is. The Lord of the Divine Sea said, the road to becoming a god is about to open, I hope you will work harder. Those forces who got the token were all grateful, and even Yi Shantian bowed to express his gratitude. Yi Ming couldn't help asking secretly, Master, is this token of becoming a god so hard to come by? That's natural. Yi Shantian said, no amount of money can buy a token. Back then, Jianqi almost went to war with the true dragon Holy Land for a token. Yi Ming, the road to becoming a god can really become a god. It may not be possible for everyone to become a god. However, on the road to becoming a god, there are countless sages' cultivation experience, which is very precious. If you can enter the road to becoming a god, as long as your luck is not too bad, it is generally not a big problem to become a god. At this time, the Lord of the Sea of Gods continued, the main purpose of the 10,000 Gods Association today is to canonize a group of new gods and go to various places, thinking that those who are interested in the land, mountain, and water gods will come forward. Before the words were finished, countless rays of light rushed into the sky, manifesting thousands of figures, all of whom knelt in the air excitedly. Everyone was stunned by this scene. There are so many gods in the world. Yiming was also taken aback, and asked, "Master, where did these people come from? Why didn't you see them before?" Yi Shantian, most of them are casual cultivators and wild gods. They have no power but have not been canonized, so their actions are restricted. Many of them hide their identities and hide in various major forces. Now that they have such an opportunity, of course they all have to jump out. Yiming, what are the benefits of being a mountain god or a water god? The benefits are great. Yi Shantian said, canonized as the god of one party, can receive local incense, and thus greatly increase mana. And nourished by God's will, life expectancy will increase several times or even dozens of times. The most important thing is that they don't worry about being discovered by the 5 great dynasties or the 4 great divine lands. Master will become a god in the future, will he also accept their canonization? Yes, otherwise I'm just a wild god. Yi Shantian sighed softly, once I become a god, I either submit or become a rebel. While speaking, the 4 phantoms waved their hands at the same time, and countless skylights fell from the sky, throwing on the thousands of people respectively. In an instant, their temperaments changed dramatically, as if they had some kind of inexplicable connection with heaven and earth. An inscription pattern appeared on each person's body, with different shapes and breaths. These imprints represent different regions, and they will go to take office in the near future and become mountain gods or lands. Thank you, Lord God. The recipients were extremely excited and saluted one after another. You must serve the divine land in the future and be loyal. The Lord of the Origin Divine Sea said, if you violate it, you will be punished by heaven. I dare not wait. All the gods responded in unison. The spectators off the court felt differently in their hearts. Master Qi Tian was expressionless, as if he had expected it. The 5 great emperors were smiling, and they didn't seem to feel any pressure. On the contrary, small forces from all sides are talking about it. My god, so many gods canonized at once, this is obviously for the 5 dynasties to put pressure on them. That's right. So many gods rule the country, how do the 5 dynasties manage it? Do the local people listen to them, or do they listen to the gods of the land and mountains? And the most important point, if so many gods establish themselves as the kingdom of God and absorb believers, the 5 dynasties will how do I deal with myself? People's discussion is not over yet. The 4 gates of light appeared, with eternity, Tongtian, origin and immortal written on the gates, representing the 4 sacred lands. The Lord of the Divine Sea said, the 4 great divine soils make an exception to recruit talents from all over the world. Anyone who has confidence can get started. Those who successfully enter the light gate can become the heirs of the divine soil. As soon as the words were finished, the bottom erupted, and countless young talents, geniuses from all directions, flocked to the 4 light gates. In contrast, Yiming was calm. He still stayed where he was, observing what happened to everyone. As most people approached the light gate, they were immediately brushed off by a white light, and fell to the ground in embarrassment. Unable to fly again, they could only stare at the light gate and lament. After a few glances, he knew that the light gate had the function of detecting qualifications, and only those with good enough qualifications were eligible to enter the light gate. The people flocking to the gate of light are like crucian carp crossing the river, but very few actually pass through. In the time of 10 breaths, only a dozen or so people successfully entered. Yi Shantian said at this time, Yiming, go, having the identity of the descendant of the immortal temple will be of great benefit to you. Yiming nodded, and straightened the light door with the word immortal in it. Seeing Yiming flying towards Guangmen, many people in the crowd snorted coldly, including Zhang Taishang, Feng Wushang, and the princes of various dynasties. Yiming has offended all of these people. Huh. It took another day to enter my temple. A phantom smiled hee and turned his eyes to Yi Ming. He is the master of the immortal temple. The Lord of the Divine Sea smiled and said, "This son seems to be coming for the temple, congratulations." The Lord of the Eternal Divine Mountain snorted coldly, "This kid really has no eyesight. Could it be that my divine mountain is not good enough?" The Lord of the Temple said lightly, "Everyone has their own chances, so don't force them." However, after Yi Ming rushed into the light gate, he felt an incomparable mysterious force that instantly penetrated his body and soul, and everything about him seemed to be revealed. The next moment, he entered an incomparably huge temple. The temple was very empty, the temple was 10 feet high, and the sun, moon, stars, galaxies and nebulae were engraved on it. Before he could see his surroundings clearly, a girl suddenly walked out in front of him. Seeing this girl, Yi Ming was taken aback for a moment. The girl was pale, dressed in black, with black hair, dead gray eyes, and expressionless. This girl was Yu Lianyan, the descendant of the Temple of Immortality that he met when he was in Qinlongbang. At the beginning, the opponent's level was higher than his, but the two sides fought to a tie, and finally he was judged to win, and he won the first place in the Hidden Dragon list, and his name was passed down to the world. He had to admit that Yu Lianyan was very scary. Yu Lianyan didn't know if she recognized Yi Ming, but said coldly, "Name." Yi Ming. Yi Ming said, he also did not regard the other party as an acquaintance. "You have obtained the preliminary qualifications to enter the temple, and you only need to pass 3 levels to become a formal disciple." Yu Lianyan said, "Are you ready? Shouldn't I be the only one coming in? Are you waiting for others?" he asked strangely. Yu Lianyan had the rare patience to explain to him, the Temple of Immortality has few successors, and the acceptance of disciples is the strictest. You should be the only one who can enter, and there are not many people who choose to enter the Temple of Immortality. Yi Ming asked, "Did you worship the temple in the same way?" "I was walking in the mortal world first, and it took 9 years to formally enter the temple and practice my unique skills." Yu Lianyan said indifferently, "There are so many successors who have experienced outside the temple, and only a very small number of them are qualified to come back." Yi Ming nodded. "I'm ready, I don't know which 3 levels to pass." Yu Lianyan. "The first level, defeat me." Yi Ming was taken aback, and he looked at the other party. "If you read correctly, you should be Wu Zun, right? If I beat you, I will pass the test." Yu Lianyan. "That's right." Yi Ming said dissatisfiedly, "Isn't this fair? You are an official disciple, and your cultivation level is higher than mine. Why should I have to beat you? You can choose to give up." The other party said coldly. Yi Ming was helpless. "Okay, what about the second level?" "Second level, defeat my brother." "Who is your brother?" "His name is Wu Chen," Yu Lianyan said, "he is a martial saint." Yi Ming almost jumped up. "Are you kidding me? Let me fight with Wu Sheng. Your immortal temple doesn't want me on purpose, right?" "As I said, you can choose to give up." A gleam flashed in Yu Lianyan's eyes, as if he was thinking about something. Yi Ming sighed, "You are cruel. But I want to know, what is the third level?" "The third level is naturally to defeat another senior brother," Yu Lianyan said coldly. "Don't tell me, the other party is a warrior." Yi Ming's eyebrows twitched. "Yu Lianyan, do you think you can beat the martial god? That brother is still a martial saint, but at a higher level." Yi Ming does know that Wu Sheng is divided into several realms, namely the minor saint, the great saint, and the sacred. A martial saint in the holy position can condense his divine form at any time and become a martial god. Presumably, the senior brother in the third level is either a great sage or a holy sage. Anyway, it is very difficult to deal with. If it is an ordinary martial arts saint, he is confident that he will win in one battle. But the other party is the descendant of the immortal temple. It is no exaggeration to say that such martial saints have the ability to kill gods. It is really difficult to defeat them. Are you ready to fight? Yu Lianyan seemed a little impatient, and asked him coldly. Yiming sighed. Everyone is here, so naturally we have to fight. Brush. Before he could finish his sentence, Yu Lianyan moved. A flash of sword light was faster than lightning, and it reached his Adam's apple in one fell swoop. And it was obvious that the other party was merciless. If he was stabbed now, he would die immediately. So ruthless. Yiming opened his eyes wide, and his neck was pierced by the sword light. However, Yu Lianyan frowned, and Yiming's image disappeared before her eyes. At the same time, a hand rested lightly on her shoulder. Her delicate body trembled slightly, and her eyes revealed an inconceivable look. Have you ever practiced killing steps? And extracted supernatural powers from it? As a disciple of the Temple of Immortality, she saw Yiming's roots at a glance. Killing step is another name for Tianshabu. Yiming did not deny it, and said, "What do you think?" Very powerful. Yu Lianyan's muscles gradually relaxed. I lost. Concession. Yiming smiled, and he could easily defeat Yu Lianyan, which was entirely due to his newly enlightened step-by-step murder magical power. Martial arts supernatural powers originate from martial arts, but are higher than martial arts. Once they are used, they often have whimsical effects. Don't be complacent, the following two brothers have also refined supernatural powers, and more than one. Yu Lianyan reminded, and then slowly retreated. Yiming shrugged, and then turned his gaze to the left. There, at some point, a young man stood there. This young man was wearing white clothes, with a smile on his face. He nodded, and introduced himself. Little brother Wu Chen, please give me your advice. Yiming cupped his hands and saluted. I've seen my brother. Is my brother really a martial artist? Wu Chen nodded. I was promoted to martial saint the day before yesterday. I'm ashamed to say that I stayed in Wu Zunjing for 8 years, far inferior to other senior brothers. Yiming was speechless for a while. Becoming a martial saint in 8 years is already very remarkable. Given him 8 years, he may not be able to advance from a martial master to a martial saint. The other party still thinks it is too late. Wu Chen rubbed his nose. We don't have many disciples in the Temple of Immortality. It has been less than 100,000 years. Including me, there are only 37 people in total, and most of them operate in other big worlds. There are slightly more people who have joined the temple in the past 1,000 years, but there are only 8 people, of which there are only 4 who have not yet become gods: Yu Lianyan, Ding Wei, me, and senior brother Zhao Xin. Yiming asked strangely, is there only a few dozen disciples in the entire Immortal Temple? That's right. Many of the disciples have been promoted to elders and have started to help the temple handle various affairs. Wu Chen looked envious. All disciples who become elders must at least have the cultivation level of immortality. Longevity. Yiming's heart was beating wildly, and he asked, Senior Brother Wu, how many immortal level powerhouses are there in our temple? What level has the palace master reached? Wu Chen laughed and said, if you weren't a member of the temple, I wouldn't be able to tell you. At present, there are 19 disciples and elders in the immortal temple. It was already at the 7th realm of longevity before. The current cultivation base may be at the 7th realm, or it may have reached the 8th realm. Yiming said in surprise, 7 realms of longevity. Isn't that stronger than other lords of the divine land? I don't dare to talk nonsense about this. Wu Chen didn't want to talk about it anymore. Junior brother, are you ready? Yiming smiled bitterly. Brother, you are a martial sage and I am a martial lord. Isn't it unfair for us to fight like this? It's nothing unfair. If you beat me, you will have a great chance. For some reason, a trace of envy flashed in Wu Chen's eyes. Yi Mingxin said that you are envious of your fart, and you have the guts to try it out with a god-level senior brother. As soon as he gritted his teeth, he tried his best to activate the Ruyi robe, and even activated several kinds of secret crystals. Facing the martial saint of the immortal temple, he must not dare to be careless, otherwise he will not even know how he died in the end. It seems that the younger brother is ready. Wu Chen smiled. Brother doesn't use weapons or supernatural powers. He only uses a set of capture techniques from the Temple of Immortality to deal with you. If you can persevere in 100 moves, you will admit defeat as a brother. Yi Ming was about to say okay when Wu Chen disappeared. He reacted very quickly, and immediately activated his murderous supernatural powers step by step, turning into dozens of phantoms, constantly changing and flickering in the hall. Wu Chen yelled, "Your brother is using the killing step of our temple. Step-by-step killing intent, good." Yi Ming pushed his magical powers to the extreme, and said loudly, "Brother has good eyesight." Before he finished speaking, a hand came from a strange angle, not fast, but pressed it on his shoulder strangely. As soon as his shoulder was held down, there was an extremely powerful force pressing down on him, as if 100,000 mountains fell down. It was unbearable. At this critical moment, Yi Ming's strength and soul power vibrated at high speed. At this moment, he doesn't have any supernatural powers to use, but what he uses are the martial arts methods and strength methods he learned when he was a warrior and a martial artist. Dark energy, bright energy, and transformation energy are used alternately, abruptly dissolving the opponent's pressure. Wu Chen pressed Yi Ming's shoulder, and just about to show a smile on his face, he suddenly felt that his palm was empty, and Yi Ming slid away like a loach. He let out a cry of surprise, and said, "Junior brother's martial arts foundation is extremely good, come again." Yi Ming's whole body was shaken violently, and merged with the soul power, and he was in a state of rampage all the time. Wu Chen's hand occasionally fell on him, and it was shaken instantly, and he couldn't do it at all after several times in a row, Yi Ming suddenly realized. Along the way, he has cultivated to the extreme at every stage, and his understanding of strength is unparalleled. At this moment, under the great pressure of Wu Chen, he had a deeper understanding in his heart. All of a sudden, with the help of the 8-element calculation array, he merged his soul power with his true energy, and his every move immediately had a special charm. When the soul power and the true astral became one, Yi Ming entered a state in an instant, and his grasp of power was incomparable. Even his formless martial intent was revealed, making every move of him invisible and formless. When Wu Chen pressed Yi Ming's shoulder again, it was like pressing the air, and he couldn't figure it out at all. Junli. His face changed, revealing an incredible expression. A high-ranking martial sect can integrate the will of martial arts into his strength, practice it hard, and gather his true strength. Once the real power comes out, there is no way to beat it. Even though Yi Ming was strong at the beginning and encountered many adventures, he could not really gather his true strength. Now that he is a martial lord, unexpectedly by chance and coincidence, he unexpectedly gained real strength. Yi Ming smiled and said, "Thank you, brother, for helping me break through my true strength. Zhenggong is comparable to the divine sense produced by Yuanxin, and true power is comparable to the holy power of Wusheng Yuanying, and its power is extremely powerful. Wu Chen's aptitude is against the heavens, but he is still in the minor saint position and has not yet gathered the holy power. Only a martial saint who has reached the holy position is eligible to gather the holy power. This is the same reason as only the heavenly martial ancestor can condense his true strength." Wu Chen smiled wryly, and suddenly backed away, saying, "I admit defeat." Yi Ming wasn't surprised at all. If the other party didn't use his supernatural powers, it would be impossible to get benefits from his true strength. He immediately bowed his hands and said, "Brother, accept." Wu Chen smiled, turned around and retreated. As soon as he left, another one came. The person who came was younger than Wu Chen. He had ordinary appearance and ordinary clothes, so there was nothing special about him. But Yi Ming didn't dare to underestimate the other party. He respectfully said, "But senior brother Xin Zhao." The visitor nodded slightly. "Brother Zhao Xin, I have seen my junior brother." Yi Ming has no opinion on the title of little junior brother. After all, he was the last one to get started, so the ranking is naturally the smallest. Is senior brother the grand sage? He asked. Xin Zhao, my brother was promoted to the holy position 10 years ago. Yi Ming was taken aback. 10 years ago. Why didn't you break through? Xin Zhao, becoming a martial god is easy, but becoming a real martial god is difficult. Yi Ming was puzzled. The real Valkyrie. Xin Zhao, junior brother should know that the road of martial gods trained with reference to gods has only reached the second level, and the third level of martial arts only appears in legends. Yi Ming, brother, what do you mean? It's wrong to refer to the god of war in the realm of the gods. Xin Zhao said lightly, I'd rather wait until the real road of the god of war appears. Wait, could it be that the real Valkyrie road will appear? Yi Ming was taken aback. It will definitely appear. Xin Zhao looked at Yi Ming. The person who opened the road to the real martial arts might be you, junior brother. Yi Ming laughed dryly. How could it be me? I'm still Wu Jun, and I haven't officially entered the Immortal Temple yet. You are already the true heir of the Immortal Temple. Yi Ming was greatly surprised by Xin Zhao's words. He asked strangely, since I'm already the heir, why did I set up 3 levels? These 3 tests are to test your qualifications to enter the immortal dimension and space. Zhao Dao said, so far, only 3 people from the Immortal Temple have entered the immortal dimension and space. Unfortunately, none of them succeeded. Immortal time and space. Yi Ming is so smart, he immediately thought of something, and asked, is the real inheritance of the Immortal Temple in the immortal time and space? Yes. Zhao Dao said, there is a complete inheritance of a great man preserved in the immortal dimension and space. If you can obtain his inheritance, you can truly open the 3rd level of martial arts and sublimate the martial arts civilization. Yi Ming was shocked. It turns out that the rumors outside are true, and the Temple of Immortality is related to that person. That's right, the great man who saved the human race is closely related to my Immortal Temple. The Immortal Temple was founded by the descendants of that great man. It is a pity that no one has been able to inherit it for countless years. Zhao Xin sighed. Yi Ming asked curiously, so, the great man has extremely high requirements for the inheritors. So that no one has succeeded throughout the ages. Of course it is. Zhao Dao said, the successors of my temple have always been famous for their qualifications. If we are not qualified, who else in this world is qualified? Yi Mingxin said that is not necessarily the case, maybe there are specific requirements for the inheritance of great men. He didn't say that, he just asked, after passing the senior brother's level, can I enter the immortal time? Of course not. Zhao Xin shook his head, you can only enter after you become a holy martial saint. The reason why you are allowed to pass 3 levels now is because it is easier to see a person's potential in the martial lord realm. Yi Ming shrugged. Okay, brother, please make a move. Xin Zhao smiled. Brother Wu Chen didn't use supernatural powers, he only used his fists and kicks, and it's the same for my brother. I just ask you to teach me your fists and kicks. Yi Ming was a little strange. The Temple of Immortality seems to value boxing skills. Xin Zhao, the most powerful body of a warrior should be his fists and feet. This is the foundation of martial arts. A warrior's fists and feet are strong enough, and his magical powers will naturally not be weak. It was the first time Yi Ming heard such an argument. Generally speaking, martial artists value supernatural powers and secret methods very much, but they don't care much about front foot skills. He nodded and said, "Brother, please advise." Xin Zhao nodded slightly, his palms staggered back and forth, his feet uneven, and he said calmly, "Junior brother, please make a move." Yiming simply gave up every step of the way to kill, and slowly came to the opposite of Xin Zhao, and punched out. His punch was extremely concise and without fancy. As the saying goes, the simpler the move, the more lethal it is. Xin Zhao also punched out, fist to fist, force to force, strong fluctuations burst out between the two, and the space was torn apart. As soon as the expert makes a move, he will know if there is one. Zhao Xin said with a smile, "Little brother, before Wu Jun, you should have cultivated to the extreme, right?" Yiming nodded. Brother has good eyesight. Not to mention anything else, just being a heavenly martial ancestor who has cultivated his true strength will make my little brother feel ashamed. Xin Zhao praised, "Your future achievements will definitely surpass that of your senior brother." Yiming, what is the strength of the big brother? Eldest brother is a god of the 5 realms of longevity, and he is one of the 3 people who have entered the immortal time. Speaking of elder brother, Xin Zhao expressed admiration. Eldest brother is a very good man. If you see him in the future, he will be indispensable. I want to give you some benefits. Whether it is Wu Chen or Zhao Xin, they are easy to get close to and give people a feeling of spring breeze, but that Yu Lianyan is a bit cold. It can be judged from this that the ethos of this immortal temple should be excellent, far more harmonious than that of Zhanqi and Yinyang sect. During the conversation between the two, they made several moves in succession. Xin Zhao has cultivated the holy power, and Yiming's real power does not have the upper hand, so the two sides are fighting for power and the skill of using power. After 10 strokes, Yiming had already figured out the characteristics of Xin Zhao's strength, and he punched lightly under the calculation of the 8-element array. With a punch, Xin Zhao was so excited that he couldn't judge where he was attacking, so he could only block it with a punch. But when he moved, Yiming's fist changed again, and with a slight lift, it hit his wrist. Crack! Xin Zhao dodges back, suffering a sharp pain in his wrist and breaking a bone. He asked in surprise, "How did my junior know that I would fight back like this?" "It's calculated. Yiming didn't intend to hide it. I have an 8-yuan calculation array. The 8-yuan arithmetic array of Tai divine art." Xin Zhao was shocked. "How did you cultivate it?" "The 8-element arithmetic array cannot be cultivated by non-gods." Yiming, luck is better. As soon as Xin Zhao waved his hand, the injury quickly healed, and he said with a smile, "Little brother, you have passed the 3 tests, and you will be a disciple of the temple in the future, and you can also enter the immortal time and space in the future." Yiming asked, "Brother, can I go outside and have a look at the Pantheon Society?" Xin Zhao smiled. "Of course, follow me." After that, he took Yiming forward and arrived in front of a light gate in a short while. The light gate is semicircular, and there is a transparent light curtain inside. Through the light curtain, Yiming could clearly see what happened at the Pantheon. At this moment, the Pantheon is still going on, and except under the Immortal Temple, the other 3 major gods have recruited 12 disciples. Seeing this, Yiming said, "Brother, the sacred land is recruiting disciples and canonizing gods. What is the purpose?" "Deterrence." Zhao Dao said, "Let the 5 dynasties know the background and strength of the sacred land, and let them restrain themselves." "What if they don't restrain themselves?" Yiming asked. "If you don't restrain yourself, you can only fight against each other." Zhao Xin said coldly, "The gods canonized by the sacred land are 3 times that of the imperial dynasty. How can they be opponents?" Yiming, "Senior brother, there is one thing I don't understand. How did the divine land obtain the will of God? This will go back to the era when the ancestral continent disintegrated. Back then, the fragments of the continent had just been shared, and their own will had not yet formed, or the will of heaven was still very weak. In that era, as long as they were gods, they could refine part of the will of heaven. He said. Yiming was stunned. So the four great divine soils entered the Tianyuan continent in the early days and refined the will of heaven. That's right. The four great sacred lands have witnessed the ups and downs of many civilizations, but they have been able to stand still because they control the will of heaven and have the power to confer gods. Xin Zhao said, Junior brother, the current mainstream of practice is not Shinto, but I always feel that if human beings want to be strong and build a super civilization, they must have their own unique civilization. Yiming nodded. Brother said yes. During the conversation between the two, at the meeting place of the 10,000 Gods Association, the Qishan leader suddenly said, I want to establish the Qishan Divine Land. What suggestions do the four masters of the Divine Land have? As soon as this remark came out, the audience was in an uproar. What? Want to build the fifth Divine Land? Everyone's eyes focused on the Qi Tianzhou people. Yiming said with a smile, today's protagonist is supposed to be the five great dynasties, but Qi Tianzhou came out. What is he going to do? Xin Zhao sneered. It's wishful thinking to think that if you subdue some masters on the Tianyuan list, you will be able to compete with the four great gods. Yiming, brother, don't underestimate Qishanzhao. The leader of Qishanzhao, Atabai, comes from the world of the three emperors. In the future, he will inherit the position of emperor, and his strength is unpredictable. So what about the three sovereigns world? Don't you know that our senior brother is the emperor of the three sovereigns world? Yiming almost jumped up. What? Senior brother is the land's you. When did this happen? Xin Zhao said with a smile. Senior brother was originally from the three emperors world, his grandfather was the previous emperor. What's so strange about him taking over as emperor? Yiming glanced at the leader of Qishan, and said with a strange smile, I don't know if he knows the cause and effect of this. If he knows it, it still means that there is no harmony between the three emperors. Zhao Xin, three emperors are a big world, and the three powers stand side by side. Originally, the operation was normal, and the emperor had to obey the emperor. But the current emperor was old and weak, and he did not care about political affairs for a long time, which led to the emperor fighting for power. The battle in the Tianyuan Great World is just a part of the battle between the two emperors. By the way, senior brother, how strong is this Atabai? Is it stronger than senior brother? The Qishan leader should be in the fifth stage of longevity, slightly weaker than the elder brother, but he is also very remarkable. This person is a man of heavenly talent. Not long ago, he made great progress. It will be a matter of time before he catches up with the elder brother. Xin Zhao said somewhat. Anxiety, at the end of the day, our temple lacks a master god level powerhouse. If there is a master god level powerhouse, no force will dare to offend us. However, as soon as the words of Master Qishan came out, the masters of the four great gods and lands fell silent for a long time. Atabai asked lightly, what's the matter? Are the four unhappy? The Lord of the Divine Sea said, brother, we have a long history with the great world of the three sovereigns, so we should respect your choice. However, the heavenly will of the Tianyuan continent is countless. If you share a part of it, the four great divine lands will suffer losses. After all, I still don't agree. Atabai smiled but don't worry, I'm not going to take away the will of God in your hands. Lord of heaven reaching divine soil, could it be that you want to capture the will of heaven on your own? This is impossible. Unless the Tianyuan continent falls into chaos again, you have no chance at all. That's not necessarily the case. Atabai said indifferently, if I am the Lord of Tianyuan, all the people will worship, and the world will be unified, then I will naturally be able to influence the heavens and give me the will of heaven. This time, the four lords of the divine land kept their mouths shut, which was tantamount to kicking the ball to the five dynasties. The five dynasties are the direct rulers of the Tianyuan continent. If the Qishan sect wants to establish a unified dynasty, they must destroy the five dynasties. The reason why the five dynasties were able to share the will of God was precisely because all the people returned to their hearts, thus influencing the gods and obtaining part of the will of heaven. Qishan Zhao also wants to obtain the will of heaven through similar methods, so it must eliminate the five dynasties and replace them. Therefore, the faces of the five great emperors were all ugly, and they stood up almost at the same time. Atabai, your tone is a bit loud. To rule the world, what do you think of our five dynasties? Emperor Suzaku said coldly. Atabai sneered, you five great dynasties want to join forces to create gods and drive the four great gods out of Tianyuan. Isn't your ambition greater than mine? With a single sentence, he brought in the four great divine lands again, and the Lord of the Divine Sea said indifferently, we, the four great divine lands, will strongly oppose the actions of the dynasty. A simple sentence showed the attitude of the divine seas. Emperor Qinglong said coldly, the five dynasties were born out of the five elements God dynasty, and the God dynasty and the four great God lands live in peace and harmony. I think you are worrying too much. Atabai, although the Five Elements dynasty unified Tianyuan, it did not create gods, nor did it intend to deprive the divine land of God's will. Atabai, don't talk nonsense. Emperor Xuanwu scolded coldly, the five great dynasties will never do this. The purpose of our creation of gods is for the people of the world. Everyone knows that the Bite Gu will wake up soon. If we don't create, if a god subdues it, it will surely destroy the soul. Atabai laughed, haha, how funny. If I remember correctly, when Biting Gu was born last time, your five dynasties gave away more than half of the common people in Limin to eat it. How did you become so benevolent this time? Emperor Suzaku, one moment and another moment. It is precisely because of the lessons learned from the blood last time that we have to create gods and fight against Gu. Speaking of this, he said to the Lord of the Divine Sea, if the four great divine soils, if you are willing to kill the Biting Gu, my five dynasties will immediately give up making gods. As soon as these words came out, the four great gods were all dumbfounded. The strength of the divine soil is very strong, and it has a large number of immortal level powerhouses. If they go all out, they will definitely be able to kill the Biting Gu, but they will also have to pay a heavy price, and maybe they will be profited by the five big fishers. Therefore, they did not express their position at this moment, and responded with silence. Or, let your Qishan sect deal with the Biting Gu. Emperor Suzaku pointed at Atabai again, if the Qishan sect can do it, the five dynasties can also give up. Atabai said indifferently, the Biting Gu is a strong man in the ninth realm of longevity. If you want to kill it, no one force can do it. I suggest that the four great gods, the five dynasties, and the Qishan sect join forces, so that there is a chance. The Lord of the Divine Sea looked over. Brother, do you have any suggestions? Atabai, the Biting Gu is currently in a deep sleep. We can take this opportunity to set up a large sealing array to seal it permanently. Emperor Suzaku immediately said, your method is too risky. We don't know how strong the 9 realms of longevity are. If the seal is broken, the consequences will be extremely serious. The devouring Gu under the rage will raise the Tianyuan continent to the ground. You can rest assured about this. I know that a large sealing formation requires 108 immortal level powerhouses to operate at the same time. If this formation is successful, it can seal a big world, or a master god level powerhouse. Atabai said, the only problem is that it takes a lot of materials to set up a large formation, and we need to share it with many parties. For the four great lands, the Tianyuan continent is just a colony for harvesting profits. They don't want to take risks, and they don't want to spend resources to build any seals, so the four gods are silent again. As for the five dynasties, they wanted to establish the five elements dynasty and create a god, and they also didn't want a Tabi's plan to be implemented, otherwise they would lose the excuse to create a god. Instead of sealing it, it is better to kill it once and for all, the White Tiger Emperor said, and only when the world is unified, the martial arts civilization can reach a higher level. The three parties have their own thoughts, and it is always difficult to achieve what they want. Neither Shintu nor Dynasty wanted to contribute to the sealing formation, nor did Qishanzhao and Shintu want Dynasty to create gods. For a while, the situation fell into a stalemate. Seeing this, Yiming frowned and said, Qi Tianzhao and the five great dynasties all have ambitions, while the four great sacred lands hang high, and they don't take the life and death of hundreds of millions of people seriously at all. Finally, Emperor Qinglong said, since everyone has their own ideas, let's do it. Yukishan sect can create a large sealing formation, and our five dynasty will continue to create gods. The Lord of Shanghai said coldly, we reiterate that the five dynasties must give up making gods. Qi Tianzhao also said, that's right, Qishanzhao holds the same opinion. Emperor Qinglong snorted coldly, the five dynasties don't need to look at other people's faces when doing things. As soon as this remark came out, it was tantamount to confronting the sacred land head-on, and a smile flashed in the eyes of the Qishan leader. However, the lords of the divine land did not get angry, and the lord of the divine sea said indifferently, in that case, please wait and see. As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his hand, and those countless lands of mountain gods who had been canonized fled to various places in the Tianyuan continent to take office. Everyone understands the voiceover of the Lord of the Sea of Gods. If the five dynasties insist on going their own way, some troubles will arise for the land and mountain gods conferred by the sacred soil. Emperor Qinglong smiled deeply, and waved his hands. Everyone, the future will be long, and we will bid farewell. After saying that, the five great emperors left in a huff, and Atabai, the leader of the Qishan sect, did not stay for long, and then led the crowd to leave. The Pantheon meeting ended, and the rest of the people also dispersed. Some of them were excited, some were disappointed, and their moods were different. Seeing the end of the Pantheon, Xin Zhao handed a token to Yiming. Little brother, you will be an official disciple of the temple from now on. This token is your identity proof, don't throw it away. Next, I want to stay in the temple to practice. Yiming asked, he doesn't have much time now, and he must not stay. Xin Zhao, that's up to you. You can arrange your time freely after meeting with the palace master later. After finishing speaking, he pulled Yiming and walked away from Guangmen in one direction. Not long after walking, a stone gate appeared. Passing through the stone gate was a long passage shrouded in purple mist. Walking on the passage, Xin Zhao confessed, the space in the temple overlaps, and it is easy to get lost. You are new here, so don't run around. Also, when you meet the hall master, you must be respectful. Yiming nodded. I understand. After walking through the passage, the two of them entered a small space filled with purple light. Inside there was only a stone table and a futon, and a white-haired old man was sitting there. The old man's face was carved like a rock, with sharp edges and corners, without a trace of expression. See the palace master. Zhao Xin respectfully bowed down, and Yiming followed suit. The old man nodded slightly and said, is the new student Yiming? Yiming, it's a disciple. You are quite famous among the five dynasties. The old man said, he had heard of it, which surprised Yiming. I made the palace master laugh. Yiming said quickly. Your aptitude is very good, but it's a pity that you are not yet a Dao body. I hope you can continue to grow. He said, in the future, you can practice with brother Xin Zhao. If you have any questions, you can ask him. Yi Mingxin said that this is the end. He was about to speak. Xin Zhao had already bowed before pulling him away. On the way back, Yi Ming asked strangely, "Brother, isn't it too easy to get started in our temple? First, I didn't check my identity, and second, I didn't check my character. The most important thing is that I don't even have a master, nothing." Xin Zhao said with a smile, "Your identity can be known by the hall master with just one thought. Are you a vegetarian for those canonized gods? They are all the eyes and ears of the hall master. As for the character, the hall master can see it at a glance. Out, why check? Finally, the tradition of our temple is that there is no master, only disciples and elders. Young disciples usually practice with their brothers." Yi Ming nodded. It's not bad to be able to practice with the senior brother. I wonder what the senior brother is going to teach me. Xin Zhao, you already know the killing steps of the temple, so I will teach you another set of martial arts. As for the exercises, I don't think you need them. Yi Ming, brother only teaches martial arts, why don't you give me some money? Xin Zhao, the disciples of the temple all have a monthly salary. You are a newcomer disciple, and you can get 1 million god coins every month. Yi Ming curled his lips, feeling too little. How much is the monthly salary of the senior brother? Slightly more than you, 500 million spirit coins. Zhao Dao said. Yi Ming said with a smile, 1 god coin can now be exchanged for 100 Valkyrie coins, and 500 million is only 50 billion Valkyrie coins, which is really not much. Xin Zhao gave him a strange look. Why is it 100? I'm not talking about the Fatian god coin, but the longevity coin. Yi Ming almost jumped up. What? Longevity coin. You know, 1 longevity coin can be exchanged for 36,000 Fatian coins. 500 million Fatian god spirit coins, that is 18 trillion Fatian coins. 1.8 million Valkyrie coins. Xin Zhao, naturally. The Holy Land, the great religion, the dynasty, and our benefits in other big worlds are huge. In addition, we have a small number of disciples in the temple, and the monthly salary is relatively higher. Yi Ming couldn't help asking, "Brother, how do you spend so much money?" Xin Zhao smiled. When you become a martial artist, you won't ask such a question. There are too many places to spend money, and this little money is not enough. Yi Ming was speechless for a while. 18 trillion French coins a month is not enough. Walking out of the stone gate, Xin Zhao handed over a set of martial arts booklets to Yi Ming, saying, "This set of martial arts is called Tiantian Hand, and in the end it can be cultivated into the supernatural power of Tiantian Seal. This is what I know, our temple is the most powerful martial arts." Yi Ming was overjoyed. "Thank you, brother. Don't thank me first." Xin Zhao looked at him. "I haven't finished my words. So far, no one has cultivated this martial skill. I really look forward to you rewriting history." Yi Ming had a strange look on his face. No one has cultivated it. Who created this set of martial arts? Of course it's that great man. Xin Zhao smiled. You can cultivate this martial skill, which means that you are really qualified to be inherited. Yi Ming shrugged and said, "Okay, let me try. Brother, I still have some things to deal with, so I can't stay in the temple." "Okay, you can leave at any time, remember to try to cultivate Fanshan Shou." After speaking, Yu Lianyan appeared with a cold expression after waving. "Lianyan, take your junior brother to familiarize yourself with the temple, and then send him away." Xin Zhao seemed to have something to deal with, so he said hello and left. Yu Lianyan said coldly, "Come with me." Yi Ming followed her briskly, and asked with a smile, "Senior sister, don't you know how to laugh?" Yu Lianyan ignored him, and he continued to ask, "Senior sister, have you seen senior sister Ding Wei? Is he not in the temple?" Yu Lianyan still ignored him. Yiming was not annoyed, and said, "It's fine if the senior sister doesn't want to say it next." Under the leadership of Yu Lianyan, Yiming took a brief walk in the temple. The immortal temple is divided into many small spaces, each with different functions. If he hadn't had an amazing memory, he wouldn't be able to remember it once he walked through it. Moreover, the hall was empty, except for Yu Lianyan. He didn't see anyone else. "Senior sister, aren't all the brothers in our temple here?" After the visit, he asked. This time, Yu Lianyan finally spoke. "Brothers have been practicing outside and looking for opportunities. Also, you are retreating in various time and space, so you can't see it." "Thank you for your answer, senior sister." Yiming smiled. Senior sister must have been hurt when she was a child, otherwise her personality would not be so withdrawn. Yu Lianyan's delicate body trembled slightly. She turned around and stared at Yiming Dao. Yiming was taken aback by her, and quickly said, "It's all my younger brother's guess, don't blame me, senior sister." "You're right," Yu Lianyan said coldly, "so you'd better stay away from me and don't bother me." Yiming was a little annoyed at the moment, and said, "Senior sister, don't worry, I will try not to communicate with you in the future." Next, Yu Lianyan brought Yiming to a light gate, and said, "Use the token on your body, and you can leave. It is the same reason when you come back, no matter where you are, as long as you activate the token, you can return to the temple." Yiming Xin said it was convenient, nodded, and began to activate the token. There was a flash of brilliance on the token, and his people disappeared. Looking at the empty Guangmen, Yu Lianyan snorted softly, turned and left. Yiming appeared on a deserted island. He flew into the air and saw that the surroundings were boundless, and he was immediately dumbfounded. "No way. Am I in the South China Sea or the West Sea?" He immediately used Flying Dragon Escape, and escaped more than 10 times in a row before he saw a ship. It was a fishing boat. The owner of the boat was not very old, he was a young man, and he had several companions by his side. When they saw Yiming descending from the sky, they immediately saluted respectfully. "What advice do you have, sir?" the boy asked politely. Yiming, "Excuse me, little brother, what is this place?" Boy, "Master, this is the East China Sea." Yiming smiled wryly, and when he arrived in the East China Sea, he asked again, "Where can I dock?" The boy pointed to the front of the boat. "The front is Lingzhou." Yiming's heart moved. Fengxi should still be operating in Lingzhou right now. Since his people are here, let's stop by to have a look. Moreover, there are 3 continents, 6 nests and 72 fruits in the East China Sea, and the sky is high and the emperor is far away. It is easiest to develop the power of the Haoshan sect. Thinking of this, he thanked the young man and flew towards Lingzhou, arriving soon after. Lingzhou is far smaller than Qishan Island, and its area is only 1/3 of Qishan Island. Even so, it is very huge, and countless people live on it, and they have lived and worked in peace and contentment for a long period of time. When Yiming appeared on Lingzhou, looking around, there were ruins and displaced people everywhere. Strange, Fengxi should have taken Lingzhou. Why did Lingzhou become so dilapidated? Could it be that the war is not over yet? Thinking of this, he landed in a small town. There are thousands of families living in the town, and everyone's gates are closed at this moment, and the streets are empty. He knocked on the door for a long time, calling out a family. The owner of this family is a middle-aged man. He looked at Yiming at the door with vigilance and asked, "What's the matter?" Yiming asked with a smile, "May I ask what happened here? Why is the situation so dilapidated? Has there been a war?" The middle-aged man took a look at Yiming. "Is the little brother a foreigner?" Yiming nodded. "Exactly, I came here from Yunyu." The middle-aged man sighed, and said, "Some time ago, the eldest princess of Suzaku defeated the army of Lingzhou and took over Lingzhou. In fact, we ordinary people were not affected by that battle, and we still went our own way." Unexpectedly, Lingzhou not long after Lingzhou was merged into the Suzaku dynasty, Prince Qinglong Feng Wusheng came here. That Prince Suzaku extorted the people of Lingzhou violently, and the soldiers under his command were more hateful than bandits and bandits. "No, you've seen it too. No one dares to go out now Lingzhou, it's over." Yiming frowned. What did Feng Wu come here for? Feng Shi is gone. Then he asked again, "Then do you know where the eldest princess has gone?" The middle-aged man thought for a while, and said, "The eldest princess seems to have been seriously injured, and she has returned to the Qinglong dynasty." "Injured? How did you get hurt?" Yiming was startled, his eyes widened, and he suddenly became nervous. "Then I don't know, you can ask someone else." The other party shook his head. Yiming stayed behind endlessly, and decided to finish his work here and return to Qinglong dynasty as soon as possible to find out how Fengshi was injured. Saying goodbye to the middle-aged man, he secretly contacted someone from the Haoshan sect. The Haoshan sect's power in the East China Sea is very weak. There is only one pope in yellow sitting in charge, and they have made little achievements for many years. After the Pope in Yellow learned Yi Ming's identity, he was both surprised and delighted, and hurriedly stepped forward to meet him. "Villain Wei Zongliang, see the vice principal." Yi Ming nodded. "Get up and talk." Wei Zongliang didn't dare to get up, and said, "The deputy leader is here, what is your order?" Yi Ming said, "Lingzhou is chaotic, I hope you can take the opportunity to develop Haoshan sect." Wei Zongliang immediately looked embarrassed, and said, "Back to the deputy leader, the subordinate is only the Pope in yellow clothes, the money and food that can be obtained are limited, I am afraid that he is not capable of doing it. Please also ask the deputy leader to send a privy envoy to come, have a chance to succeed." Yiming said coldly, "Are you not confident in yourself, or in Heoqianzhao? After today, you will be a privy envoy." Wei Zongliang was surprised and delighted, and hurriedly said, "Yes, this subordinate must be so heartbroken that he will die." "Okay, I didn't let you die." Yiming took out part of his 12th level talisman money, which was worth about 100 trillion Valkyrie coins, and handed it directly to Wei Zongliang. Seeing thousands of 12th level talisman coins, Wei Zongliang was shocked, and asked in a stuttering voice, "Vice religious leader, is this for me? You spend all this money within a month." Yiming said, "How to spend it?" The other party was puzzled. Yiming asked, "How many people are there in Lingzhou?" Wei Zongliang thought for a while, "It's about 300 to 500 billion, I don't know the details." Yiming asked again, "What is the annual living expenses of ordinary people?" Wei Zongliang immediately said, "Ordinary people's expenses are very small, 10 Valkyrie coins are enough for them to eat and drink for a year, and there is still more. I want you to spend at least 200 Valkyrie coins on each Lingzhou citizen so that they can live and work in peace and contentment." Yiming said, "With this money, they will definitely be grateful to the Haoshan sect and fully support us." Wei Zongliang was trembling with excitement, and said excitedly, "Don't worry, deputy leader, with this money, my subordinates will definitely make it happen." The most people in Lingzhou are ordinary people with low cultivation. They are just warriors, not even warriors. They live an ordinary life and consume very little resources. Yiming smashed out tens of billions of Valkyrie coins, and immediately improved the lives of these low-level people. At least let them have no worries about food and drink for 20 years. Yiming had no idea about the feasibility of this method, he just wanted Wei Zongliang to experiment. As a powerful martial lord, he knew that the superiors treated the low-level people like ants and ignored them at all. After finishing this hastily, Yiming left Lingzhou and went to Qinglong dynasty. He offended a lot of people in Qinglong dynasty, but he still came here just to catch a glimpse of Fengxi. If Yiming wanted to do something, the first thing that would come to his mind was naturally not to ask for help. This do not ask for Ren Hall was established by him alone, with the three masters of Dongdu in charge, and its influence has skyrocketed. Now that several years have passed, the number of participants in Buchorin Museum has reached more than 3 million, and all of them have influential people in various fields. Moreover, he does not ask for help, and earns billions of Valkyrie coins every month. This book comes from